Hello, Beth.
Today we're
Welcome
down
to
on
Sunny
the
City.
House.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Paul Rushworth-Brown, host of History Bards, Down Under Interviews in association with Meet the Author Indie Book Source. And I am here with a very, very interesting and special guest tonight, Marc Rosenberg. So Marc is actually an author and a filmmaker and has some great credits.
I couldn't get along with the owner, so I quit. And then I got a job. This doesn't say a lot good about me, but I got a job at running another film school, and I got sacked from that one too. So, this isn't good on my resume. I was watching a news video, and this was on broadcast news, probably in the US. And it showed the effects of a chemical attack in Syria. And I don't know who was shooting it, but there was a father and son that were stumbling over the ruins of a building trying to get away. And you could see that they'd already been poisoned. And they were stumbling, and you could see their escape was just hopeless. And it was a short video. It might not have been more than 30 seconds or something, but it had a deep emotional impact on me, because it's easy to see yourself as a father being put in a position like that where you probably have nothing to do with the war at all. And yet the people that did this are living thousands of miles away, and they don't really care, So that became, like that pebble that you roll down a hill in the snow, and it just keeps gathering and gathering and becomes bigger. And so that was the spark. And then I read a very good book by Bill Browder, which is called Red Notice. And that's about Putin's Russia and how criminal it all is. And it reads like a novel, but it's nonfiction. And it just put everything into context for me. And then the more I thought about it, and then sort of being a lover of Le Carré's books, like Honorable Schoolboy and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and all those, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, and a lot of other sort of crime espionage books. I wanted to emulate those, and they sort of provided the guardrails for Kidd's game.
Neil Kidd, accused of assassinating a Russian presidential candidate, hunted by Russian special forces, has only one thing on his mind: saving his daughter's life. Kidd has done everything possible to help his terminally ill daughter.
Neil Kidd obviously is the protagonist. There's actually a bit of a side story to the novel. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Neil Kidd to be more of an analyst than an operative, so that he could be put in a situation that he wasn't really trained for. And I needed a reason or an inciting incident for him to agree to take on this mission. And I have a daughter, and she's got some problems, and I just thought that's a great reason. If somebody could come to Kidd, and say, listen, we have a way that we might be able to solve your problems or solve your daughter's problems. If you take this on, I think I would do it. I would take that chance. Yeah. So it had to be a strong motivation. And then, as you move through the story, you try and flesh her out. And of course, she has a big impact toward the end of the book.
Embark on a heart-pounding journey in Book 3 of the Hollow Man series, where espionage, suspense, and international intrigue collide in a world teetering on the brink of catastrophe.
Baby, You're Worth It follows the heart-wrenching story of Tabitha, a mother whose joy is shattered by unforeseen tragedy during the birth of her second child. Faced with the devastating consequences of medical errors, Tabitha must navigate life-altering decisions, balancing her job, her mother's deteriorating health, and the needs of her children. Amidst pain and trauma, Tabitha embarks on an inspiring journey of courage, love, and resilience to reclaim her happiness and heal what's broken inside.
Your novels have been compared to some great sort of like fiction, crime, espionage type authors. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mentioned Le Carré, and I don't put myself in the same category as him. He was a master, and of course, he was a spy for MI5, so he knew for firsthand how things were done. But the thing that I admired about his books is there wasn't a lot of razzle-dazzle. It was really intelligence and fortitude and I guess perception, a good instinct for things. I want to say I have to give a shout out, even though she's dead, to Patricia Highsmith, who, the more I listen to writers in this genre, pay homage to her, because I don't know if you've seen it, but Ripley has just been a miniseries on Netflix, and she wrote something like, I don't know, 20 books, and there have been over 30 adaptations of her novels into films. And she just has this dry way of writing that sucks you in, that you just want to know what's going to happen.
So tell me, obviously as a filmmaker and an author, what's the difference in the process between writing a screenplay and writing a novel?
I'll tell you, one of the things that I enjoy about writing a novel is you don't have to worry about the budget. When you're writing a screenplay, every speaking part is going to cost you more money, and how many locations is going to cost you more money, and all that sort of stuff, which made it very hard for me to make that transition from screenwriting to novels, because in a screenplay, you can't put anything in it that you can't see or hear.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, in a novel, you can talk about people's thoughts, and in fact, that's something that people work at. And there's a different kind of poetry in novels. And the other thing too is, in a novel, I'm not one of these, but you can wander for 1,000 pages before you get to the end. Whereas in a movie, anything that's over 90 pages or 100 pages is going to get cut. So.
Bards Sing of Love and War is a captivating historical novel set in 11th century Wales, where love, honor, and ambition clash amidst the Norman invasion. As Chief Bard Rodri mentors young Tal, the tale unfolds with political intrigue, familial loyalty, and forbidden romance, centering on Griffith Rhys's quest to reclaim his kingdom and win Gwenllian's heart.
D59. Wenator. Roman equestrian one, follows Decimus, a seasoned centurion, and Luciana, a fierce Celtic princess, as they navigate a deadly conflict that ignites their mutual attraction. Bound by their passion for horsemanship but divided by loyalty, they must confront a growing unrest led by mysterious druids and power-hungry factions.
So
you've already got the screenplay for kids.
The book was based after I started writing the book. I had this screenplay that I really liked, and nobody wanted to produce it. So I thought, I can't let it go. I'll just turn it into a novel. Yeah. And honestly, I was sick of writing screenplays. I've probably written 30 or so. And
I mean, the great thing is because of your film background. Obviously, you writing a novel and putting it out there, you're sort of like probably 2 or 3 steps ahead of any other author that would like to have their novel made into a miniseries or a movie.
Paul, I hope there's some producers listening to this show
Oh,
because I want them to hear what you've just said.
yeah,
Yeah, I hope. I didn't know this until recently, but I was listening to a podcast about writers. And have you heard this term pantser?
yeah,
The idea of sitting down and writing something without knowing where you're going scares me, you know.
yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is kind of a funny story. You know, I said that I'd worked with Miles Davis, and he was acting in Dingo, and I said, why did you decide you wanted to be an actor? And he said, because it scares me. He said, I like doing things that scare me. So maybe he taught me something. Maybe I'd like to do something where I didn't know the ending at the beginning and just try and follow where it goes.
Okay, so you've been a director of education at 2 film schools. Give us a little bit of background on that.
You know, when you're a writer, you can't count on paychecks. So you fill in the time doing something else. And, you know, I can't. This is one of the things I tell my students. I said, the best quality to have as a writer is not to be good at anything else. Because when times get tough, you're going to go back to being a hairdresser or an electrician, physicist, or whatever else you can do, plumber. You know, they make money.
In 15th century Hungary, Return to the Eyrie. An epic coming-of-age tale. The young noblewoman Margit Shalogi, raised in exile, defies societal constraints to seek revenge for her father's murder. Disguised as a man, she infiltrates her ancestral home, driven by a fierce quest for justice. Set against the backdrop of medieval Hungary's tumultuous history, this gripping narrative intertwines honor, love, and the fight against the Ottoman advance.
How did you develop the character for Neil Kidd?
Well, you know, it was easier for me because he's like us. You know, he's not. He doesn't know any fancy stuff. I mean, he doesn't know how to break codes or, you know, do the things, or he probably has never jumped out of an airplane or done any of that sort of stuff or fought someone on a skyscraper. You know, he's not that guy, you know. He's a guy that's good at detection and good at survival. So his big quality, I think, other than his humanity, is just his ability to slow his brain down.
If you couldn't write in that genre, what would you write? What genre would you write in?
A comedy.
Comedy.
Yeah. You know,
Mark, that's a huge difference.
I have written a dark comedy about a robbery in a blind institute, and you know, I think it's pretty funny, and it's been optioned a few times.
Now, you said that you had about 30 screenplays sitting there that obviously haven't been used yet. Any thoughts about turning any of those into novels?
Absolutely. I'll never run out of material.
Okay, so you've been a director of education at 2 film schools. Give us a little bit of background on that.
You know, when you're a writer, you can't count on paychecks. So you fill in the time doing something else. And, you know, I can't. This is one of the things I tell my students. I said, the best quality to have as a writer is not to be good at anything else. Because when times get tough, you're going to go back to being a hairdresser or an electrician, physicist, or whatever else you can do, plumber. You know, they make money. But if you're only good at writing, then you just tough it out, you know, and you do what you have to. But I found that I could teach. I guess because I'd made some films, I was interviewed for the job of heading a film school in Sydney, Sydney Film School, creatively called. And I did that for a while, but I couldn't get along with the owner, so I quit. And then I got a job. This doesn't say a lot good about me, but I got a job at running another film school, and I got sacked from that one too. So, no, you know, this isn't good on my resume.
Very, very interesting. And I wish you the very, very best with Kids Go.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks very much.